Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? It is 9:51 a.m. It just changed from 9:50 to 9:51. It's 9:51 a.m. on Friday morning. I can't believe that I'm actually filming my vlog on the day of the actual vlog instead of the next morning, but I am. I just got done filming my last vlog from yesterday, and then I took it home, rendered it, and then when it was done being rendered, I started uploading it to YouTube. So it is uploading right now to be posted later. And I was just kind of doing some stuff around the house. I was seeing what time we can get into the house that we rented tomorrow and things like that. And yeah, and that's it. And I have a couple errands I want to run, so I thought, well, I'll just take you guys with me while I run these errands. After I got done vlogging yesterday, I was like, or an hour ago, I listened to The Smiths the whole way home, and I was listening to all the songs that I have downloaded from The Smiths, and I was thinking back on high school and all of my high school days, and I was like, I want to get a pair of Doc Martens. And so I think there's a shoe store. I'm going to go turn left for a little bit and just talk for a while. But I think there's a shoe store at Hamilton Town Center that, like a Journeys. I'm going to see if they have Doc Martens. And I'm going to go there and check that out. But they don't open actually until 11. So I'm going to talk for a little bit, and then I'm going to go to the post office, because I haven't been to the post office in a couple days. So I'm going to stop at the post office. Every time I say I'm going to stop at the post office, I get there, and then it's like really crowded, and I'm like, I don't really want to go in and deal with the post office. So I'm going to go to the post office today. And then I'm going to see if Tanya is free, if she's available. I'd like to see her. And then go to Hamilton Town Center. And then I'm going to come home and film a drama video for today and maybe one for tomorrow, and pack, and that's my day. Like a really good day. I was just actually like pulling out books that I want to take on the trip because I want to read a little bit while I'm there. I'm not really sure which books I want to take. I have Slouching Towards Bethlehem by Joan Didion, but that's like a very serious like nonfiction book of essays, but I've wanted to read it forever, and I've kind of like started it and gotten a couple pages in, and then like I haven't really read it, but I really want to read that book. I've been wanting to read something by Joan Didion for a while. I watched a documentary about her life, and for the book club the first year, the last book I think what we were going to read that year, maybe it was the January book that we were going to read for the next year, I can't remember, was The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion, which I actually have, and I haven't read anything by her all the way through. And then I saw this video with Dan Levy from Schitt's Creek. I love Dan Levy, and it was like 10 or 12 things he can't live without, and one was a copy of Joan Didion's Slouching Towards Bethlehem, and he said he carries it with him like everywhere. He always like takes it on trips with him and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what, like I want to get that book. So I went, and I think maybe did I order it? I can't remember. I feel like I just went to the bookstore and got it. So anyway, I did that. So I have that out, but then I also have this book called Supermarket by the guy that's the singer Logic. I don't know what his real name is. And I've been like trying to get into that forever. It's actually not bad. Like when you start it, it's pretty interesting. But then I get like a chapter or two in, and I just don't continue reading it. So I thought about taking that. And then I also want to take a Leanne Moriarty book. But then if I take 3 books, I'll never read 3 books. So I'm like, which 2 books can I take? If I take the Slouching Towards Bethlehem book and then one fiction, I feel like I can like read an essay here, an essay there, and then it's not like this huge commitment. So I think I'm going to take these are very serious decisions for Peter when you go on a trip. It also kind of like, when I'm away, like I think really deeply about my life. I think about like, vacations are always like good for me when I get away to like really kind of evaluate where I'm at in my life. And what does he have out of the back of his truck? He table, to kind of evaluate where I'm at in my life and what I want to do next. And sometimes like what I'm reading forms the way I'm thinking, if that makes sense. Like I remember when we went to Cancun and I read Pretty Little Liars. Pretty Little Liars? No. Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. And I just was completely floored by that book. I thought it was so well done. But it was like everybody I met, it kind of like thought of in relation to that book, if that makes sense. I don't know why, but I did. And so I don't know if like Slouching Towards Bethlehem is like this, if it's like sad, or like she's kind of very, if you watch the documentary, it's kind of, it's a hard documentary to watch, honestly. She's a really neat woman, though. I'd heard about her for years, you know, and I didn't really know much about her. And then I had seen the Celine campaign come out. Celine, the brand Celine, and the fashion house. And she did a campaign for them where she had these big black sunglasses on. Joan Didion is known for wearing like big black sunglasses. Kind of like Anna Wintour from Vogue. And it was like, she looked like my mom. It was weird, except for that my mom had blonde hair, not like white hair, but she looked similar to my mom in the pictures, and she kind of had her hair tucked behind her ear, because my mom always wore big sunglasses. And she had her hair tucked behind her. I wish I could find the picture, but I would have to pull over. And she had her hair tucked behind like one ear, kind of. And she was just kind of sitting there, and she had these big glasses on, and then it said Celine underneath it. And I can remember I was so taken with the photo. It was just like such a fantastic photograph. And then I got really interested in like Joan Didion, the person. And so I started like reading articles about her and interviews that she had done, when she hasn't done tons of interviews. And then started hearing a lot about The Year of Magical Thinking, which I think is the last book that she put out. I have a hardback version of that, hardback copy. So, but if you watch the documentary about her, which I think it's just called like maybe Joan or something. It's either on Amazon Prime or Netflix. It was fantastic. And, or maybe it's called Slouching Towards Bethlehem. I don't know. But it talks about her writing that book, and she wrote this at like the height. I'm like acting like it's right over here. It's not over here. She wrote it at like the height of her like writing career, when she was like an essayist. And it is so hot in here. I have it turned up. I had it on 80 and now it's on 74. But I have my heat warmer on too, because it's cold outside. It's 43 degrees. Oh, I also need to go get my my oil change today, which I really have no desire to do, but whatever. She wrote it at like the height of her like essay writing. You would have to watch the documentary to understand, but like she would go in and do these like kind of like deep investigations into like certain like parts of society. She did one like about like the Charles Manson or something. I can't remember, but it was something to do with like some kind of true crime. And anyway, remember in the documentary, it was like I watched this woman that would come and stay with them. I think it was her and her husband. Said that every morning she would get up and she would drink like a small Coke and like smoke one cigarette after another in the kitchen. And like that was her morning. And she would just sit there. I think the idea of deep thought is really underappreciated in our society. You know, just like thinking about ideas and stuff. It was interesting because I did this video that I'm posting today. And it was me reading, like, my mom's memory book, and I had all these memories in there of, I had given it to her one Christmas, and it was like, I just wrote, like, one memory after another in it. And one of the things I wrote was, thank you for, like, having deep conversations with me when nobody else would. And, you know, when I was in, like, my early 20s, this was a big part of drinking, too. So, I mean, that goes along, I think, with the territory of wanting to have, like, very deep intellectual conversations. You think you're so intellectual when you're drinking, you know? But even when I got sober, like, after that, like, the first 2 years sober, I can remember just, like, sitting with friends for hours and hours, just sitting there and having all kinds of candles lit, and music in the background, and smoking cigarettes, and just having, like, really deep conversations. And the first guy I dated when I got out of treatment, I definitely was looking for kind of like, which I don't recommend, by the way, to get in a relationship right after you get out of treatment. I don't recommend it at all. I've told this story on here so many times, but to get to the second part of the story, I have to tell it. So anyway, I got out of treatment, and the whole time I was in treatment, this guy that I had met, like, the last night before I went into treatment at this bar in called the Vogue in Indianapolis, I used to think it was, I looked it up one night, and it was like a Friday night that I went into treatment, I think, or something. I used to think it was a Sunday night, because they used to have these things on Sunday night at the Vogue called Boing, and it was like gay night at the Vogue, because the Vogue is like a straight bar in Broad Ripple, but it was, they had these things, it was called Boing, and it was like a gay dance night. I thought for some reason it was that, but he must have been here for the whole weekend, and I think it must have been like some kind of drag pageant or something, because back in the day when I got sober and before that, Indianapolis was like a huge hub of drag, like there were a lot of like national title holders here and stuff like that, in the pageant system. And at like every gay bar, they had drag shows, almost every gay bar. I'm trying to think. Well, the Metro had them, and the 10 had, I mean, a lot of gay bars here had drag shows back then. There's hardly any gay bars left in Indianapolis, I don't think. There's like only like 3 or 4. But back then, there were a lot. There's this whole street in Indianapolis back in the day, and it was called Massachusetts Avenue. It's still there, but today it's very artsy, hipsterish, kind of bohemian, and they have all these kind of like upscale, artsy restaurants and little stores. It's very cute today. It's where my husband loves to like go out to dinner. They have all these great little restaurants and stuff. But back then, it was still kind of like that, but they had like an Abbey coffee shop that was supposed to be like an imitation of like the Abbey in California in West Hollywood. And then there was the Metro, the bar, which is still there. And then there were like a couple gay stores. Like all the stores along this one area were like gay owned and operated. There was this store called Silver in the City. And there was like a video store. And there was this bar called NYC. And, well, NYC would have been closed by the time I got sober, I think. Talbot Street. Had Talbot Street open when I got sober? I don't think so. I guess NYC would have still been open when I got sober, but anyway. God, I honestly don't even remember which bars were open. Isn't that so sad? But, so I got out of treatment, and I was at the Vogue the last night, and my friend, the one that I went to, like, kindergarten, I think, elementary, junior high, high school, and college, and graduate school with, she was there, and she was with this guy that she had met through some other guys, and he was from Illinois, and, from Champaign, and he and I like met and talked, and I think we exchanged numbers or something. I don't remember, but anyway, when I was in treatment, she would say, you know, so and so was like asking about you. He was like really worried. He's really glad that you're in treatment, getting help, and all this kind of stuff. And the idea that there was this guy out there that was like happy that I was getting treatment, you know, when I had this loser ex-boyfriend before, and that I was consumed with, like, like meant, like I was like just in love with that idea, right? And he had a great job, and he was highly educated, and he was a couple years older than me. I think he was 26 when I was 22 and a half. And he was so cute. He looked like Ben Affleck. He still kind of does. And, but anyway, so he wanted to come and visit. Like, I got a treatment on like a Sunday or a Monday, and he wanted to come and visit that following Sunday. Oh my God. I can like totally remember him coming to visit and everything. It's so weird. And he would come to Indianapolis for this Boing thing on Sunday nights. And, you know, I got out of treatment. I had had like a whole week. So like my apartment was clean because my dad had my apartment professionally cleaned, and it smelled good. And I had this wood burning fireplace. My dad had like all this wood stacked in there so I could have fires. And so anyway, I couldn't go out to bars, or I was choosing not to go out to bars. But he was like, I was thinking about, he called me, and we had talked a couple times that week, and he was like, I was thinking about coming up one Sunday, and then, you know, like you and I could hang out. I think he was to come up like Sunday morning or something. He was like, and you and I could hang out all day long, and then I would go to this thing on Sunday night, out to this Boing, this bar at the Vogue for this Boing thing. And he said, and then I would go, you know, come back, and I could stay at your place, and then go home on Monday. And I was like, okay. And so he came, and I remember I just, like, when I opened the door, like, I had a fire burning and stuff. I just was like, oh my God, he was so cute. He was so fine. Remember, he had like a J. Crew roll neck sweater on and real cute jeans, and he had like black Doc Martens on, and he just was so cute. And had his, you know, stuff together too. Like, he wasn't a mess. Like, you know, he drank, but not heavily. And he just, like, had it all together. And that was real appealing to me, you know? Because I had, like, everybody I had dated before that was pretty much a mess, like I was. So anyway, I remember, like, we went out to dinner and stuff. And I feel like he met my dad or something like that I don't know, like I had to go to my dad's house or something. And so like we went out there, my dad met him. Maybe that was another weekend, I can't remember. But anyway, I remember we like went out to dinner, and then he came back, and then he was gonna go out to this thing, and I was just gonna sit at home and like watch a movie or whatever until he got back. And I remember he came back to the apartment after being out. We must have like started kissing as soon as he got in, because I can remember his cheeks being like really cold. But we dated during the winter months, so like I can also remember visiting him, and like I can always remember like going into his apartment, because it took me like 2 hours to get there. And I would go into his apartment, and it would be, he'd have like candles lit, he had flannel sheets on his bed, and I can remember like it just was real cozy. And we would walk around. He lived in this like he lived in Champaign, this campus town, and we would walk around, and it was really fun. But I can remember like this is like, I have to be like a little TMI moment, but whatever. I mean, it was 25 years ago. So of course he and I like screw around, and I think I said something to him like, does this mean we're boyfriends now or something? Because like I always wanted a boyfriend, I never just wanted that, you know? And he was like, yeah, sure. So that was when we were boyfriends. And then we dated for like 2 months, and it got disastrous at the end. It wasn't anything huge, like it wasn't anything horrible, it just was not. I think I've talked about it on here before, but anyway. So he and I broke up, and then my sponsor was like, I don't think you should date anybody. I think you should be single for a year, which I probably should have listened to him. How I did not go back out and start using after that first relationship ended, because I was really pretty devastated. And that was when I really still defined my existence by like a guy needing me. Well, I mean, I did for many years after that, but that was a good example of like, I felt like I needed someone to think I was good and okay for me, or like I was good enough and I was okay for me to be good enough and okay, if that makes sense, which is literally the definition of codependency. So I could go over to Books A Million, but I really don't feel like it today. I gotta get my phone case fixed on my phone too. So anyway, have you guys seen my phone case? Have I shown this to you? Pull over and get something in the parking lot. Okay, so this is my phone case. Do you guys see the flap? It's so ripped. And then you can't see it, but this is like all cracked and stuff. And then I ordered this phone case like 8 months ago. It's this like fake Supreme phone case, but it has Mickey Mouse on it, and I thought it was real cute. I think it came from like China. It was like $20 off of Etsy. And I ordered it like in March, and it came like a month ago. And so since I don't have any other phone, I hate it. It's real heavy. And, except it's solid. That is nice about it, but I just think it looks like stupid. I don't know. I thought it was cute. I was like looking at all these different phone cases on Etsy, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, that's cute. I mean, it's so obviously fake, but who cares, right? But anyway, so I got this, and it was like the only other phone case that I had, and I was like, I'm not investing in another phone case. So the other night, I took that, because this was like ripping back so bad. Look, it just keeps on ripping. I was like, I have to take it. I don't even know why I'm keeping it. I don't know why I've like saved it. It's like there's no point. But anyway, I have to go and get a new phone case today. That's one thing I have to do. So then, well, I took the first semester off of school, and I hadn't planned on going back until the fall semester. I started my spring semester in January, and then I went to school like a day, and I was like, I can't go to school anymore this semester. I've got to focus on my sobriety. And thank God, you know, like my dad was on board for that and was willing to help me financially, because that first 4 months, other than being in this relationship, all I did was go to meetings, talk to my sponsor. I mean, I was going to like 2 meetings a day, talk to my sponsor. Not every day was I going to 2 meetings, but I was at least going to a meeting a day every day. For 2 years I did that. But there were a lot of days I was going to 2 meetings. There was a lot of days that I would just like sit at this club here in Indianapolis and go to meetings and stuff. And, you know, like trying to meet people. So my life was all about recovery. I was reading all kinds of recovery stuff. That was when I, like, at 2 years, I started going back and reading a lot about world religions, but I was reading a lot of stuff. I read the Celestine Prophecy. That's not a world religious book, but other stuff. But anyway, I was just taking a lot of time to really get healthy. But then, by that April, I decided that I wanted to go back to school. So I went back to school, and I think it was like in April. I took summer 1 and summer 2. Maybe I just did summer 1. I don't remember, but it doesn't matter. But anyway, I took an intro to film class, because I like minored in film then after that, because you only needed like four like classes to minor in film. It was like 12 hours for a minor. So maybe it was even just 9, but I think it was 12. I took screenwriting, intro to film, French cinema. Maybe it was just 9 credit hours you needed as a minor. I don't know. I feel like it was 12 though. But so I took this intro to film class, and there was this guy that sat in front of me. I really didn't even notice him until one day we would get breaks during class. We would watch movies, and like there was like 5 of us that would go smoke outside. And he and I were talking. It was like probably like the second week of class. And he was tall. He was like 6'2", and he had real curly hair and these little wire rim round glasses. And I remember he wore like these baggy jeans, and he always wore like green. And he had these like, remember that brand Simple? He had these Simple green shoes on. and he wore Woodland from Bath and Body Works, like the shower gel and everything, and the cologne. And I can remember he always smelled like fresh, straight like out of the ocean or the woods. He smelled so good. And so anyway, we were outside of class one day, we were talking, and everybody was like talking about the movies we were watching. So anyway, everybody went in, and he was like, I'm gonna smoke another cigarette. And I was like, okay, I will too. And so we were standing there talking. Like, I didn't know him very well at all. This is Todd. And I didn't know him very well. But like, I knew him enough to know that he was like in my class. Like, I think we had like 3 classes together at that point, or 4, and we had stood outside. So anyway, he started asking me all these questions. He was like, have you seen this movie? I feel like it was like back in the day, there were not that many great like gay movies. There was like Maurice, which was horrible. And he was asking me about these movies. He's like, have you ever seen Jeffrey? And Jeffrey was like this gay movie that had come out like a year before that year or something like that. And I said, yeah, and we started talking about it. Anyway, I don't know how it got started, but somehow like he was asking me about all these gay movies. And I said to him, I finally was just like, are you gay? Are you gay? I can't remember how I said it, because I never would have guessed. Like, he was very straight acting. And that's what we called it back in the day, straight acting. I don't think we call it that today, but I just wouldn't have known that he was gay. I mean, there was like, you know, based on stereotypes and stuff, you know, he didn't act effeminate or anything. You know, it's really kind of sad looking back then. I mean, today it's, you know, all of my friends were just people, you know, across the board. But back then it was like, I can remember like having conversations with friends and being like, I like this guy, but like, is he gay? Oh, I don't know. Well, you know, can you tell at all? No, I can't tell. And all that. But anyway, I really had no clue. And like, people always talk about this, that the whole idea of gaydar. Like, I've never had that. Like, I've never been able to tell if somebody's gay or not. Never. I mean, they like right in front of me in my face could be hitting on me, and I literally have no clue. I mean, it's happened many times. Alex and I have gone places, and Alex will be like, so that guy was hitting on you. And I'm like, what? And he was like, yeah, it was so obvious. And I was like, no, it wasn't. And he was like, he was totally hitting on you. And I'm like, Alex, no, he wasn't. He was like, you just don't you have no idea when people are hitting on you. I really don't, like, whatsoever. So anyway, we, like, became friends. Like, I didn't really think anything would ever happen of it. We exchanged phone numbers, and then he called me, and he lived close to me. So he was like, hey, you like want to hang out? And I was like, yeah, why don't you come over? And so he came over, and I remember the first night that we hung out together, we like sat there, and he brought a bunch of CDs over and introduced me to all kinds of music. He was the one that introduced me to Dave Matthews Band. And I remember like 2 songs he played. You know, I haven't listened to that song in the longest time. I think it's called like Proudest Monkey. He was like, that song reminds me of you. Is that what it's called? I don't even know. But the Christmas song too, he would always say reminded him of me. But anyway, he played like all this music for me. He was in a band with his brother. He played bass. And the first night that he came over, we sat there literally for like 9 hours straight and just like talked nonstop on my couch. And I remember I had this like kerosene lamp, this little lamp thing that was like round, that you had you put kerosene in it. And my aunt used to have these glass kerosene lamps that I was obsessed with, so I got one. Like, when I moved in there, I think I got it at Pier 1 or something. Does Pier 1 even exist anymore? And but we just sat there. I mean, I don't even know what we talked about. We talked forever. I remember at one point, he ran out of cigarettes, and so he was like, let's walk down to the gas station. I was like, well, we like walk down, or we can just drive down there? And he was like, no, let's just walk down. It's really nice. And I remember like the end of it started like raining, I think, when we were like walking down there or something. Raining or snowing. But I feel like if it was April, it would have been raining. But anyway, we started walking down there in the rain, and I don't know why I remember that. walking all the way down to that Shell station, and then we came back, and but you know, like, it was real sweet at first. It was nothing like anything. And in fact, you know what's really interesting about it is, like, nothing really that serious ever. It stopped. Nothing really super serious on an intimate level ever really happened with us. I mean, I can just remember getting naked and like rolling around and kissing. It never really was like a whole lot more than that. And you know what's interesting is, like, that felt super intimate at the time. I don't think I really had any idea how much he really meant to me. I was like totally in love with him. I mean, I was like kind of in love with him from like the word go. You know, I'm somebody that believed in soulmates for a really, really long time. And then I met Alex, and Alex is very much a realist. And I think I'm more of like an idealist. And I can remember Alex and I talking about soulmates, and he was like, I don't really believe in soulmates. And I was like, well, what do you mean? I can remember getting so sad about this, because I was like, well, how can this person possibly be my soulmate if they don't believe in soulmates? You know what I mean? And he said, no, he said, I just think that, like, we're two people that met at a specific time in our lives, and we decided that we wanted to spend time together. And, you know, even though that doesn't sound like super romantic and the, like, kismet kind of, like, you know, stars aligning kind of, stars aligning and colliding kind of deal, you know, at the same time, I feel like there is something very romantic about choosing to spend your life with somebody. But, I don't know, I feel like on some level, Todd was supposed to be I don't even know. I don't know what he was supposed to be in my life. I don't think we ever found out. Todd ended up going to Bloomington. I remember the last time I, like, saw him before he moved was at this thing called Carmel Fest, and he and his brother's band played at it. It was like this in Carmel, Indiana. It's like this festival they have every summer, and he wrote this song called St. Peter, and they played it while they were there, which I have to believe that nobody in the band knew the song was about me. Nobody knew that he was gay. Nobody knew that he was out. His family was completely, like, anti-gay. And I can remember I called the house one time and his mom hung up on me. And I was like, and I said something to him about it. He was like, yeah, my mom doesn't want me talking to you. I was like, what? He was like 20. I was like, was he 21 yet? He was younger than me, but like by a year or two. But anyway, he was like, yeah, my mom doesn't want me talking to you. She doesn't want me talking to guys. It's like so weird. I mean, I understand it. Like, there's a lot of families like that, but. And then I can remember standing there. I couldn't even go up and say hi to him or anything at this Carmel Fest thing. I remember him standing there looking at me while he was playing. I had like kind of this weird feeling, like I kind of knew it was the end, but I couldn't explain it. You know what I mean? Like, I knew, like, something. And then I think it was actually that night, maybe, that he called me. And he was like, I don't know, you know, you just kind of have, like, a feeling that a relationship is over, you know? And it was, like, that night that I was, like, it was either that night or the next night, and he called me. And he said that he was transferring to IU, because we both went to IUPUI, which is Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis. It's like the city school. It's like UCLA, but not as good. Although today it's like a pretty good school, I think. But back then it wasn't as great. It was more of like a community college. But Which was interesting because a lot of the graduate programs, like my graduate program was through there because they had it here because all the internships are in Indianapolis. So to get your master's degree in social work, I think it's different. It might be different now, but you had to get it in Indianapolis because of the internships. And so like my degree, my social work degree says Indiana University. Like I applied to the Indiana University of Social Work, not like the IUPUI degree. But my bachelor's degree, I think, says IUPUI. Maybe it says Indiana University School of English, or I don't know what it says. Bachelor's arts degree in English. I don't know what it says. I'd have to look and see. But anyway, and then he called me and he said that he was transferring to IU, and he hadn't told me. And he said that he didn't want to continue to date because he wanted to go down to Bloomington and really just experience being like on campus. And I was like, that's cool, I totally get it, you know? Like, I don't want to stand in your way. And then he went to IU, and he was down there for 4 years, I think. We didn't really talk a whole lot while he was down there. He came up the year after that, and I was at a thrift store. Actually, I was at, it's called Thrifty World now, but back then it was called Thrifty Threads, I think. And I saw him there, and I was with my boyfriend, my first boyfriend, when I got sober. Well, my first, like, long-term boyfriend. And I turned and I looked, and he was standing there staring at me. And it was like I had all those feelings still, you know, but like the timing was just not right. I was like in love with my boyfriend. I like wanted to be with him. It wasn't like I wanted to get out of that relationship and be with somebody else. And like he knew it too. Like I looked at him and I introduced him to my boyfriend, and he just was like, he knew. Like I think we both always knew that we were supposed to be together, but like it just was always bad timing, you know? And then he met his boyfriend at IU, Jonas. I feel like maybe he went, I feel like he met Jonas, like he went to another, like he went to Iowa or somewhere for a year. He was gonna do like the creative writing program at Iowa. They have like an incredible creative writing program there. And you know, I just remembered how the conversation came up about how this is so weird. So he used to always think, like, he was so encouraging of my writing, and he used to always think that he would come into like a bookstore or like a book signing, and I would be there, and then like I would have written this book, and he would like be standing there asking me to sign it. And which is interesting because my mom, I always forget about this movie. My mom loved this movie called Windy City. It was such a great movie. It took place in Chicago, and it was about a group of friends, and that situation happens. Like this girl's, she's the one that was married to Steven Spielberg for a while. I can't think of her name, Kate something. But anyway, she walks into this bookstore. She walks by and she sees the title of this book and this guy's name on it. It's this guy that she dated like 10 years before, and she goes in. He and I must have watched that movie or something because he always said that would happen. So anyway, he met his boyfriend Jonas, and then they moved to San Francisco. I feel like I met Jonas one time because I can see him in my head, and I've seen Facebook pictures of him. He's real cute, kind of like round-faced, and I can remember like talking to him a couple times when he was with Jonas. Just like every time, I feel like I had to have met him at one point, because there was another moment where I was single, and it was like between my first and second boyfriend, and I ran into him. I ran into Todd, and Todd had, he was with Jonas, and I met him. I can't remember where that was at, but we looked at each other like it was bad timing again. Like, you know what? Like, it should be us, but it's not, you know? And I can remember just being like, it's really nice to meet you, Jonas. I don't remember where that was, though. But he, like, really, really loved Jonas. And, Then they moved to San Francisco. And it just, I think it got bad there. I don't know. I think they both got into drugs or something. I don't know. I mean, I literally have no idea, but it was bad. Because the last time that I saw him, it was bad. Like, he was, like, strung out on something. But I remember, because I was sitting at my friend's house, we had gone to some meetings. This is, like, I always try to figure out, like, when it is. She and I had gone to these meetings, or we would go to this meeting on Saturday night, and then we would go back to we would go get something to eat. Like, we would go to Charlie's or something, and then we would go back to our house and just sit around and drink coffee and talk. And one night we were sitting there, I can see myself on our couch, and I was telling her about Todd. I was telling this story about this guy. We were talking about, like, guys that we liked, you know, like, oh, whatever happened to him and whatever happened to him and whatever. Like, and, like, the first guy that I dated when I got out of treatment, like, I mean, I know where he's at today and all that kind of stuff, and he's doing very well with his life, but, like, I wouldn't want to be with him. Like, we had a couple other, like, meetups down the road, so to speak. Not really hookups, meetups, like, where one other attempt at making the relationship work. He just, you know what, he just didn't want to be in a relationship is what it was. Whatever. He came to visit me, the first guy I dated, he came to visit me one weekend. This was when we were dating. Well, we were dating and then we broke up. I think this is after Todd, like that summer. He came, he was like, hey, he called me out of the blue and he was like, I'm really sorry how things ended. This is the first guy. And he was like, I'm really sorry for how things ended. And I was like, that's cool. And we talked it out. And so he said, I thought about coming to visit this weekend. I thought we could play tennis. He played tennis. I was like, yeah, that's cool. So, and then we could go out. And I was like, okay. And so I thought he was coming to, like, want to work things out and, you know, be in a relationship or whatever. And I remember we got, like, on the court, the tennis court, and, like, literally he had been there, like, less than an hour. And we, like, go to play, and he goes, so what are we playing for? And I go, I just cannot believe, I mean, I must either be a prude or super traditional, because I can remember just being so turned off by this. I was so ready for him to go. He stayed, I think he stayed, I don't remember that night, but I was just, like, so done with him after this. So he goes, what should we play for? And I said, I don't care. What do you want to play for? And he goes, whoever wins gets to pick who we bring home for the three-way. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, whoever wins gets to pick who we bring home tonight for a threesome. And he was completely dead serious. I was like, no, thank you. He was like, you don't want to do that? And I go, no, not at all. I was like, no, thank you. I mean, do you, but, like, I was not somebody, you know, I mean, I was like, whatever. I mean, not that I would ever be, like, I'm not, okay, this is getting into uncomfortable territory, but I wouldn't want to, like, date somebody, you know what I mean? Like, and that's not me. Like, I have many friends that what they do in their bedrooms is their own business, okay? But listen, that's not me. And I can remember just being so turned off by that, like, aren't you here for me? Like, what are you're already talking about who's the next guy that you're gonna pick? I don't know. And then I remember after my first boyfriend and I broke up, like, I still kind of, like, at that time kind of liked him, and I was like, well, maybe, and I reached out to him. I wrote him a letter, and he, like, called me, and we had this, like, long talk and stuff. And then I went to go, did I visit him? I can't remember what happened. But we had another bad, like, it was very similar to that. It was like, I thought we were cool with each other, and then it was like this, just very, I don't know. I guess that's how I started this whole conversation. He and I never had deep conversations. Like, we talked, like, maybe that first night that he came back to the house, but then after that, like, we never had deep conversations about anything. Todd and I always did. And that's how this whole thing started, didn't it? With me talking about my mom and the deep conversations. And, like, and what I realized was he never wanted to have that with me. He never wanted to know, like, who I was, like, deep down inside. Like, he only was concerned with, like, the physical. And, I mean, it just, this car is about to get in a horrible accident. He's, like, just peeling through this traffic. And this car next to me is going like this, like, imitating him, too. I'm sure he saw that. He did, because he's like, I don't know. I don't know that he had the capacity to be, you know, have a deep relationship with somebody, which I think is sad. You could screw 100 people in your life, but at the end of your life, what do you have to say? You've experienced 100 different bodies. You know, I'd rather have intellectual conversations with people. I'd rather get to know somebody. I'd rather sit in a car and laugh with them, you know, or watch a movie, or, you know, share talking about a book or an idea, you know. I mean, Alex doesn't read. We don't sit there and have really huge, deep conversations about books or anything, but, like, we talk about movies, we talk about philosophical ideas, we talk about all kinds of stuff, you know. And I think it just enriches the intimacy part of it. But to just have, like, that physical piece, I think, you know, it's like, people are, like, really in a hurry today for some reason. I have a lot of friends of mine that are very much, like, want to be single forever. Like, they were in one relationship when they were, like, 20, and it, like, went horrible. And so they just want to be single forever. And they're like, yeah, but, like, I don't want to just ride the same ride at the fair for the rest of my life. And I'm like, okay. But anyway, I remember sitting there talking to my friend, and I think she and I were talking about my book having come out. It was probably the year before, so this probably would have been like 2015 that she and I were having this conversation, because I think it was like, my book came out in 2014, so it would have probably been the year after that. And she and I were sitting there talking, and I was like, oh my God, this guy that I used to date, we're talking about blah, blah, blah. And he always said that he'd show up at a book signing. I think when I started, like, when my book came out, I did a lot of like book fairs and stuff like that. It was really fun at libraries and whatever. And she was like, oh my God, how funny would it, I think she said, like, how funny would it be if he, like, showed up to one of your book signings? Because I, like, shared that with her. I think I had one, like, the next day or the next week or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, that would be so funny. And I was like, oh my God, I should look him up on Facebook. Like, what if he's in Indiana? Because he was living in San Francisco at that time. Now, I did know that, I think I knew that Jonas had passed away. But I didn't know, like, the conditions of why he had passed away. Or maybe I didn't know that. I know I must have known that, because I feel like he and I talked about it after Jonas passed away. He was devastated. Like, Jonas and their dog, or their cat, I don't remember if he had a dog or a cat, but, like, passed away within, like, a month of each other. And he was just, like, devastated. And we talked for, like, a long time. And then we wrote each other back and forth. I remember, this is so embarrassing, I don't know why. I mean, we hadn't been together, and I don't know why it's embarrassing. It's honestly kind of sweet in retrospect. But so we dated when I was 22. Well, let's just say 23, because I was almost 23. And this was probably when I was... So he and I would have been writing each other the year between my ex and Alex, which would have been 2008. And I was like, what, 36? So 13 years. Is that right? Yeah. I can't do any math. 13 years. And he sent me, like, a kind of like a semi-nude picture, like an actual photograph. I wonder if I have it in my letters down in the basement. I bet I do somewhere. But, I mean, it's not like a full-on nude. And it was kind of like a very sweet, like... kind of like this sexy nude picture of it. Anyway, it wasn't just like, like, you know, a Richard pick or whatever. It wasn't like that at all. And he wasn't completely nude in it, like hardly at all, but like it was like his attempt, because like he just wasn't that person, you know. And anyway, so she and I were talking about it, and I looked him up on Facebook, and I'm like reading his Facebook page. I hadn't looked at it in years, and he was dead. He passed away, and people were like, "Oh, I miss you," and rest in peace. I was like, "What is this? Like, what happened? Like, I'm so confused," and I couldn't figure it out to save my life. He had passed away, and I contacted on there his closest friend. That I remembered her somehow, or I feel like she had mentioned his name. She lived next to him in California. That's what it was. She lived next to him in Jonas. See, I want to go to the post office. It's packed. So I reached out to her and I said, I'm just blown away. Like it had been like 2 years. Like it hadn't been just like the week or month before. Like he had been gone for like 2 years. And I had no clue. This other guy that I was like really, really good friends with the first year that I got sober, that I met him through my friend that I went to like, you know, elementary, junior high, high school, college, and graduate school with. She introduced me to him too. He was a really, really nice guy. And his name was Marty. And he and I were like really, really good friends, like really hardcore friends. And he really helped me my first year of sobriety, like have a lot of stuff to do that like I didn't feel like I had to be in a bar, go out. We just like hung out together so much. He was so nice. I was at a gas station. God, this is like 5 years ago. This is probably around the same time. And he and I had this friend when we were in school. He was going to college at the same time that I was. We were the same exact age. And he, I feel like he worked at the Gap or something. I remember he always wore like khakis and like button-down collared shirts. Very clean cut. Really nice guy. And I was talking to this friend. I had seen him at an art gallery opening. God, probably 10 years before that. But anyway, this friend of Alex and I's, that I went to college with her, and I actually worked with her at one point too. And her husband is from like Colombia, I think. And so like we like hit it off talking one night, the four of us at this party. Like I had already known her, but like her husband and Alex like really hit it off, and she and I were already friends. So anyway, she's very cool, very fun. But she was friends with Marty too, and I said something about, I was like, oh my God, I said, how is Marty? Do you ever talk to Marty anymore? And she looked at me and she was like, sweetie, I'm really sorry to tell you, did you not know? And I said, no, what? She's like, Marty passed away like 3 years ago. And I was like, what? It's so weird when like people from your youth start passing away. It's like that part of the story is just gone. Like you can share the story, you can tell the story, and like obviously I tell these stories 1,000 times, but it's like that part of the story is gone. It's so weird, you know? I was actually thinking about this with my Peter Does Stuff channel, that, you know, like in getting rid of a lot of this stuff in my basement, like I don't want to keep it, because like my advent calendar that my aunt made, she made me one and she made my cousin one, and we've had them since I was a little kid. They're like these burlap advent calendars. I'm going to show it in a video on my Peter Does Stuff channel, but it has these little ornaments and pockets, and then you take one and you put it on the tree, and then the last one's like Santa Claus, and all of them were like Christmas themed, but then there were some that were like personal just to me and personal just to Caroline. Like we each have like 2 or 3 ornaments on the tree that would only make sense to us, if that makes sense, you know? Like Yellow Dog, who was my stuffed animal. And I was like, you know, I don't ever bring it out anymore. I never use it. It hangs in the basement. And I thought, you know, if I showed this stuff in a video, at least then I would always have the video to go and look at this stuff, you know? Like, I wouldn't have to hold on to it forever. And in a way, me telling these stories is also a way of me holding on to it forever, you know? It's like, even though, like, Marty's not here and Todd's not here, like I still have the memories, I still have the stories to tell, and I can sit and listen to a vlog and remember it, you know? I remember I came home that night from my friend's house. I've told this on here too. And I said to Alex, I was telling him the story, and I like said, oh, you're gonna die when you find out what happened. Like, I was like, I can't believe this happened. And like, I was kind of upset about, like, really upset about it. And he was like, what happened? And I was like, well, I was, you know, showing my friend, I was trying to show my friend pictures of this guy that I always thought I would end up with. Because I always thought I would end up with him, right? And he goes, you can still end up with him if you want. And I go, what? He's like, I'm just saying. He like got real defensive and jealous. And I'm like, well, no, actually, Alex, I can't because he's dead. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, yeah, I just found out tonight. I remember I got really upset about it. And, you know, it's so weird because, like, Alex is not typically a jealous person. But he was so nice after that, through that whole thing. I mean, I had a really hard time with that for a couple days. Like, really, really struggled with, like, I don't know, it was so hard. Well, Todd, I certainly didn't think I'd be getting in the car and talking about you today. I really had no plan. Oh, I just drove by. I wanted to see what that was going to be, that building. I had no plan of talking about him today, but oh well. And I know some of you out there are like, we've heard this story like 15,000 times. And you tell it different every single time. Do you know what my friend Tanya said? She said the sign of a liar is somebody that tells the same story the same every single time. She said nobody tells the same story the same way twice. She said a sign of a liar is somebody that tells the same story over and over and over again, but the same exact way. Like, I thought that was interesting. I always kind of wonder what would have happened if he hadn't been such a mess the last time I saw him. Oh well. I was thinking about a friend the other day. I can't remember who I was thinking about. It was the weirdest thing. And I was like, if you're my age, like, let me know if this has ever happened to you. Like, I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, like, I wonder what happened to so-and-so. And like, I literally had completely forgotten, and they had died like when I was like 22 or 23. And I was like, oh my God, they're gone. And I had completely forgotten, like completely forgotten. Maybe I care too much about the past. It's hard though, you know, like when, like, I have a whole history before like Tanya ever entered the picture, and in all honesty, besides Caroline, who really doesn't know like personal ins and outs of my life much except for family, Tanya doesn't know those. She doesn't know those people. She doesn't know all that. You know what I mean? She doesn't know my old roommate. She doesn't know my first boyfriend. I mean, you know, Tanya doesn't know that part of my life. And so, other than Tanya and Caroline and my dad, he doesn't really ever want to talk about that stuff. And he doesn't really know a lot of it. I have nobody to talk to about my past. It's like my past is gone, you know? It's a weird feeling. So I think that's sometimes why I enjoy telling the stories. I don't know. But listen, you guys, I am going to get off here now. Can you believe that I have completely finished my vlog before it's 10:49 a.m., before 11 a.m. So I'm going to get this up and get this ready to be posted on Saturday. And the next time I am vlogging, I will be vlogging from our house in Florida, which I wish was our house that we had bought and owned, but that's not the case. It's our house that we're renting for the week. So I will be vlogging from our house down there, and yeah, God, I can't believe I got this done so early. So anyway, I love you guys, and I I hope you are having an amazing day, unless you have other plans. But like I always say, don't have other plans. If you like this video vlog, please give it a big thumbs up. If you like these kind of stories and whatever, let me know in the comment section below. If you haven't, if you're subscribed, thank you for subscribing. If you haven't, think about subscribing. And also check and make sure that your subscriptions are still on. If you haven't, think about subscribing and being a part of the OG Wolf Pack. That's all of us over here trying to just get by with a little bit of kindness and compassion and love in our hearts. Always lead with love, like it says in the 4 agreements. Let somebody know how much they mean to you today. Remember, you can start your day over whenever you want, and never forget that if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And like I said, always lead with love, like it says in the 4 agreements. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya.